Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I wanted to talk about competitive Destiny. Do I think that Destiny is going to be a competitive game? And in short, no, I don't think it's going to be a very competitive shooter. Not going to say it's going to be bad or not fun or anything. I just don't think it's going to be seeing a lot of pro or competitive play, which is totally okay. The gameplay that you're going to see, while I explain why, is probably the most competitive game of Destiny that I have ever played. You're going to get to see me play very unusually instead of, aggressive, fun, kind of off the wall. You're going to get to see me sort of hide and watch the radar and flank around and try to really outsmart people. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work at all. I'm going to be playing against a clan of 5 people. There are 5 people on the other side that have the same PlayStation name, TTL something, and that's not like an in-game name you can change or a clan tag you can add for fun. These guys are obviously, very competitive gamers. They've known each other for a long time. This is where I'm kind of hiding with the shotgun. I was not expecting him to come around that side of the rock. We almost killed each other. We were both one shot, but we both decided to back away and try other strategies. We're going to have another fight. I have to kind of dance and play and counterplay with other people here, which leads me into the next subject. But again, I'll remind you, I'm playing just me versus 5 people, so this is the most I've ever sweated in this game. Very, very difficult. Just, randoms on my team. There are some things about this game that make it look like it would be a very competitive game. It has multiple classes and tons of weapons. You have your 3 main classes, which is Hunter, Warlock, and what was the other one? Titan, yes. You basically have Tank, then you have a high damage class, and then you have a sort of a magical sort of utility class. Inside of that, there are several subclasses. Each subclass does a different thing and allows you different abilities and moves. After that, you have a ton, and I mean a ton of different equipment that you can equip that have elemental effects, different guns and stuff, and this gives you a very large amount of counterplay. There's one thing counters the other. This class counters that class. This class good for this map, good bad for that map, good gun here, bad gun there, etc., etc. And this adds very good high skilled play, very good counterplay. And speaking of high skilled play, it's also generally speaking get long times to kill. The times to kill are not instant. You do have the ability to react and kind of outmaneuver, out gunfight your opponent, and this definitely moves the skill curve up to something that favors high-skilled players over low-skilled players. Another good thing, if this game were going to be competitive, is it has a ton of objective modes. This is the standard mode for the game. It's essentially domination from Call of Duty, but there's deathmatch, and I've seen several other objective modes in previews and ones that are locked. And again, right now I'm listing reasons that it looks like it would be a good competitive game, not that it will, because believe me, I'm going to tell you that it's not in just a second, but we're looking at the antithesis of my argument before we get into the main, meat of it. It's probably also going to have pretty good developer support, at least decent developer support. It's Bungie, it's Activision, it's their little pet baby, it's their #1 project. It's gonna get some love. If it launches rough or buggy or needs fixes here or there or this and that and overpowered, I would expect to see it fixed very quickly. This is something that they've put a ton of effort into, and they're not just gonna leave it hanging if there's something the public or the community doesn't like. All of these things that I listed are very good things for competitive gaming, but why is Destiny not going to be competitive? All those things would be great. Well, here's my list of why it won't or probably won't be competitive. I mean, I am a wizard, but I can't see that far into the future. Number 1 is that it is not a 60 FPS game. Destiny runs at 30 frames per second. In perspective, Call of Duty and pretty much every other competitive game runs at a bare minimum of 60 FPS. Counter-Strike, Unreal, they're trying really hard to make Evolve a competitive game. I'm pretty sure that it runs closer to 40 to 60 FPS, but 30 FPS is considered the very bare minimum for gaming. No game under 30 FPS is considered to have a proper frame rate, and for competitive, for esports, for guys that really, really play hard, 60 FPS is their minimum. They will notice it, and they will hate on games that have less than 60 FPS, and I know you might not believe me on this one, but they can probably see it. The degree to which these people play these games and the degree to which they go hard, they're able to see small differences in frames. Like for COD Ghost, when I was testing the MTAR, Stainville was able to see that 4 frames were missing from his game. He felt that he was dying 4 frames too early, which, led me to proving it. There are other people that play like competitive Super Smash Brothers. If they're using a capture card and the capture card drops 1 frame, they flip out and lose their mind. They know this sort of thing. And I'm going to say that the game probably is not going to have a huge multiplayer focus. Now, don't get me wrong, there is a multiplayer element to this game. There's a multiplayer focus to this game, and definitely a lot of love went into the multiplayer. But I feel like the single player and the co-op missions are probably going to get more love than the multiplayer, because there is a huge, massive campaign to this game. There's a big world to explore. There's a ton of co-op missions. There's a bunch of different modes and stuff that we haven't even seen in the beta that's going to get a ton of love. It has to be continually loved because it needs to, by love I mean support, patches, focus, that sort of stuff. Because the multiplayer, as long as it's stable, probably won't be as crucial as content updates and quest fixes and all that other, adding DLC or whatever to the single player. And that does take some away from the multiplayer. So even though it's going to have good support, I don't think that just solely the multiplayer is going to be the focus of it, unlike, say, League of Legends or Dota, or honestly Call of Duty. These games is pretty much all focused on the multiplayer, and the single player is more of an afterthought. Moving on, I don't think this game has sort of instant reaction controls. I don't know if it's a nature of it being 30 FPS, or if it's built on something that looks very and plays very similar to the Halo engine, but it doesn't, it's not snappy like Call of Duty, like Counter-Strike, like League, like a lot of the other games that are real big esports games. There's a little bit of a momentum to what you're doing. You can't turn on a dime, you can't 360 quickscope while sprinting. There are very solid limitations on your movement. I'm trying to say it in a way that's not saying the controls are clunky, which they're not. They kind of remind me of a less extreme version of the Killzone controls a little bit. You are limited in your movements. You're not able to move ridiculously fast, which is something that pro players and the pro scene usually demands. Like if the game can't be played at such a high level that the animations don't even match your movements, these guys probably won't have anything to do with it. Another thing that I'm not seeing in this game is perfectly balanced maps. Now these maps are balanced, they're not like completely unfair or broken or anything, but they're not balanced to the point where I would consider many of them to be esports maps, and they also have a lot of dynamic elements. One thing that the beta had that the alpha I'm not seeing in as so far, maybe I've just been unlucky, is that the maps can have different weather. So I've seen, especially in the alpha, I played one map during the day, one map, and then the same map I played it at night, in the rain, in the snow, and I think I played one when it was just dusty, when we just had a lot of wind blowing for some reason. And unless these are controllable elements, this is something that's not going to make it very fair for esports or anything like that. All that being said, I don't foresee Destiny being a competitive multiplayer shooter. I think it's going to be more of a, I want to say a casual shooter. Maybe casual is the wrong word for it. I think casual single player would be the approach. Multiplayer is definitely not really built for casual. But it's not going to be a hardcore, I'm going to be the best in the world at this game and retire on all my esports and e-girls monies and all that sort of stuff. No, we're not doing that. But there's nothing wrong with that either. What's wrong with just having a game that's fun to play and doesn't require you to grind or do all these sort of weird things that competitive gamers do and expect the rest of us to do? There's nothing wrong with playing a game just because it's fun, because I like shooting lasers into people's face and blowing them up. There's absolutely nothing wrong with playing a game and losing like I'm doing right now because I'm getting stomped by a clan of people. That's okay with me. That's not such a big deal. It's still fun to play. I still enjoy the kills I get and the goofy weapons that I'm using and everything else. And there's tons of great, casual games out there. Skyrim is ultimately a casual game. It's like, kind of free roam RPG for dummies, but it's got enough depth to it where everybody else likes it, and it's fun. It's quality build. Borderlands is pretty similar. Assassin's Creed is a great sort of mass market casual game that a ton of people like. Quality game too, mind you. Not necessarily my flair or my favorite thing, but a good game. And Destiny can do that too. I think this is probably going to be one of the better casual games of the year, but I'm not expecting it to be a super hardcore competitive sort of shooter, and that's my take on it. I hope you enjoyed what I had to say. I hope you enjoyed the most competitive gameplay that I could get, even though I lost. 5v1 is really rough, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.